Alright, so thank you for joining me. We are going to continue our Guild Wars 2 personal story playthrough. We are now in Heart of Thorns. So the Pact Fleet launched with the intent of taking on Mordremoth. And the Pact Fleet was devastated, completely annihilated. I don't think from here we can see, well, we can see some wreckage up there, right? Oh yeah, we can actually see quite a bit of wreckage from here. We can see some up there, over here. So these vines shot up out of the ground and grabbed these airships and devastated them, right? In that, we also saw that Destiny's Edge, whom up until this point, even when we were kind of getting to know our new compatriots, our new comrades, Marjorie, Casimir, Rox, Bram, Timey, even and now Canuck, even as we were getting to know them, Destiny's Edge kind of remained our um, the folks that we were reliant on for expertise and knowledge and experience as the player character, as the commander. They are now missing. We don't know what has happened to them. We don't like Ritlock has rejoined us. Kaith has run off with the egg, the last egg of Glint, and Air, Zoja, and Logan are all missing. So we now, just after the last instance, we now have Ritlock with us. We are chasing Kaith, and then we are trying to recover Logan, Air, Zoja, and Traherne for that matter as well, who is also he's the Pact Marshal, right? So he is also missing. So we have all these things going on. What we are about to do is we are about to try to kind of liaise, kind of meet with some of the local population in an effort to better understand the jungle.
So, boss, sorry, Commander, did you learn anything from the other survivors?
The pack soldiers all talk about prisoners being taken deeper into the jungle.
Then we need to go deeper into the jungle. I'm ready.
Hold on. We don't know this region, but there are potentially friendly Hylic nearby, and we could use their help.
For what? We can handle anything this jungle throws at us. We know where to look. Let's start looking.
Not without better intel. We're in Mordremoth's territory, and I won't let us get ambushed like the fleet ones.
But we're not... Okay, fine. Let's talk to these Hylic boys.
Commander, look! Over there!
Evening. The bad ghouls are back. Archer, arrows ready.
Mordrem Guard, let's show these new Hylic which side we're on. Move out!
These Hylic aren't like any I've seen. Beautiful colors, though.
They won't be so nice to look at once those Mordrem Guard get hold of them.
We won't let that happen. Hit 'em hard, people!
Alright, so we've seen Hylic before, right? They're in the core game. They have a certain model. They look like a certain type of frog, if you will. So Heart of Thorns introduced two other types of Hylic. And now we're going to get the opportunity to meet them. Now, we saw in the cutscene that Bram, it obviously feels like this incredible sense of urgency to move forward. Why is that? Because he is Air's son, so what has happened to Air is obviously extremely important to him. And this is a relationship that for Bram never really existed. Air was like a absentee mother. And he's only now really getting to know her. So that adds to the urgency for Bram, right? He wants this thing. Oh, is there still one more over there? He wants this thing that he's been missing in his life. Oh, look at that. Tislak just hopped back up. Alright. So both of these very different from the Hylic we've seen in core game. In particular, Tislak, because these toad-looking Hylic, the new hawk, are giant, right? You can see, like, the rest of us, even Timey and her golem is not nearly as large as Tislak. And then we got the, oh gosh, what are they called? Itzel. We got the Itzel here, who are very, like, tree frog looking, if you will.
Glad you strangers showed up. I am Ibli. of the Itzel Heilig. Welcome, and thank you.
I'm glad we could help. We've also lost people to the Mordrum, and we'd like your assistance in getting them back.
Of course. We have a common enemy. We need to warn our village. But come with us and meet our Kana, the chieftain. We can't help you if we are not safe. But if you help us secure the village, I'm sure the Kana will offer her support.
Excellent. Let me speak with my people, and then we'll be honored to meet with your chieftain.
So as I mentioned in the last video, kind of as I was closing out, in the idea of meeting up with the these other types of Hylek, essentially the local population within this area that's been devastated by Mordermoth. It's a very sound concept. Having the local population on your side when you're waging some sort of military campaign is obviously beneficial, right?
Air and the others are in danger. I'm not going to waste time making introductions. I volunteer to scout ahead.
Bad idea. We can't risk getting separated. I also prefer to work alone, but we don't always get what we want.
I'll go with Erson. We'll pick up the trail while the rest of you make contact with these Itzel.
Agreed. Ritlock and Bram, see what you can see and don't go too far without us. The rest of you, with me.
Thanks for backing me up, Trudy.
So you can certainly make an argument for...
Keeps a keen eye on your Silvari.
Alright, we got a little more conversation there about Silvari, and in this case specifically Canuck. Canuck, you got any feelings on this? Apparently not. Okay. So you can make an argument for both sides here. You can make an argument that we are not, as the commander, as the player character, we are not waging a military campaign. We are specifically conducting like a certain operation, and that doesn't necessarily require the assistance of the local population, the Itzel and the Newhawk here. But you can also make an argument that, again, like it makes perfect sense to get whatever assistance you can. So you can go either way on it.
Lead the way to your village, and we'll help however we can.
Needless to say, I don't have a problem with Bram here.
Hard to read, but they seem truthful. A little more time and I'll have a handle on them.
I bet my whiskers on that, Kaz. For the Itzel, I mean. I'm not so sure about the big guy.
The big guy is Tislak of the Newhawk. Ibli and I are a team. Our people are allies. And I have excellent healing.
Oh, hi, Tislak. Nice work with the hammer back there.
Great way to get started when you're meeting new people. Say stupid things. Thanks, Rox. Really appreciate your
Scouts have returned. Inform
your
the Kana
nonsense.
right away.
The plant ghouls keep coming. Stronger each time.
We have to alert the village, but then we send someone back to tend to the fallen.
Did you see them? Mordrim are massing in huge numbers just outside the village.
That's not good, right? Bad sign.
Commander, as we go deeper into Mordermoth's territory, I trust you'll make it clear which side I'm on. I don't want the Itzel or anyone else mistaking me for a Mordrim guard or a packed turncoat.
It would be cruel irony for me to die wrongly accused.
I have to keep an eye on you, on all Silvari. But don't worry, I'll vouch for you.
Probably, when all's said and done, a reasonable response from the commander. I mean, we do need to consider the Silvari to be, a somewhat, a potential security liability, right?
It's getting worse, Mother. Kana, the Mordrim Guard are preparing for a major attack.
At least we have some warning this time. Well done. Wait, your party is too small. Where are the rest of your scouts?
Fallen, taken, And if not for these new arrivals, we would be too.
The jungle provides. Thank you, strangers. Are you also here to help us protect our village?
We are. The Mordrum are a threat to us too. We're here to stop them. Your people and mine can help each other.
I say we strike first and hit the Mordrum as they muster. They won't expect us to attack them.
Too risky. Our people here need protection. We should focus on improving the village's defenses.
What say you, strangers? Amayale sent you to us. I would appreciate your counsel.
So this actually happens a lot in Guild Wars 2.
We can cut down the Mordrum Guard before they ever reach the village.
Where you'll like meet somebody for the first time and then they'll immediately ask for like your feedback on a super important decision that has everything to do with them and very little to do with you. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an RPG. Like, the player needs to have agency. The player needs to be involved in the story. Like, you can't just drag the player along through everything. So, I totally get it. It just, sometimes it's like, man, like, we didn't create any investment for the commander before giving the commander this decision, right? Tommy, what are your thoughts?
The bad guy to good guy ratios, all wrong. I say we balance the equation by taking out the Mordrum in the jungle.
Okay, this isn't really a math thing, but I do appreciate your input.
I say we defend the village. No matter how many Mordrum come, these tight spaces will work in our favor.
That is a fair observation, right? Because all these little like bridges and stuff create choke points. So you have like natural, and you can fall back from one to another. So if you're defending here, and then you get pushed back, then you can fall back to here, and so you have like a natural kind of defense in depth, utilizing these choke points. So there's some sense to that. All right, Rox, I appreciate your input.
Not much time
There are
left.
too many
You must
innocents here.
decide,
We
or I
should
shall
dig
be
in and
forced
help
to
them
go
defend
without you.
themselves.
Hey, calm down, Tizlek. Yeah, so Casimir is really taking the stance that you know, like we need to defend the innocents here. What Casimir doesn't understand is we put them at more risk by allowing the fight to happen here. So Casimir, that's
Let's
nonsense.
head out. If we wipe out the attacking force, the village won't need defenses.
Marjorie's correct. If we win, ultimately, what this comes down to, like from like a military perspective, is again when you just dig in and dig in and dig in, then you lose the initiative, and we need the initiative. So Tizlek, let's let's hurt them as much as they hurt us. Let's go on the offensive.
The newcomers agree with me. We should attack.
Very well. Strangers, if this works, I promise that in turn our scouts will help you find your friends. Good luck.
With respect, Kaya, if you'd seen our new friends fight, you'd know we don't need luck.
All right, let's go. We're gonna take the fight to the Mordrum.
These Mordrum Guard, are they as much trouble elsewhere as they are here?
Yes, they're new. And compared to the rest of Mordremoth's slaves, they're the least mindless and the most dangerous.
That is troubling. But the jungle provides, and until now we've been on our own. I'm glad you're here.
I don't know if your jungle brought us here, but we are definitely going to help with your Mordrum problem. Hurts, doesn't it?
Oh no, I aggroed a pig. Alright.
Time to do some real damage.
Gotta take those snipers out fast because I don't think we actually have stealth detection yet. Yeah, we're still working on that. Ooh, we don't have the mastery points. It's part of the problem. Now we'll get mastery points as we advance through the story. So that'll help. But yeah, problematic. And I debated when doing the 0 to 0 if stealth detection should have been on the list or not. But ultimately, it's really only relevant when doing Heart of Thorns content. which is why I left it off the list.
Those plant people have done a lot of damage, and they mean to do more. We have to stop them here.
Yes, so we've already agreed on that, Tislak, so let's charge forward. That is pretty cool, him just smashing that wall down.
Feel the fury. We can't let the Mordrum Guard take back this territory. Someone needs to hold the ground we've cleared.
I understand. I'll send word to the Itzel scouts. They'll keep what we claim.
So actually, on an operation like this, I don't know that that's a super good idea. Saying that we need to, preserve the ground. That would be true if we were looking to occupy something. But because this is really like this is like a penetration type thing, I don't know that that's really where we want to be on this. Because we're drawing assets away from the village, right? So, like, is that really what we want to do? So that growl, that again right there. So that is Mordermoth.
Speaks
Yeah,
again.
as Canuck.
It knows we're
lets
here,
us know.
and it's trying to twist my thoughts. Pathetic.
I need you to take this more seriously. The last thing we need is another Sylvari surprise.
Don't worry about me. The harder Mordramoth tests me, the harder I resist.
So if we were Sylvari, that would actually be different. Like, we would know what Mordermoth was saying.
That should teach the Mordrum. Oh, look there, near that strange blister. It's one of our fallen scouts.
They were dragged here, just like the Pact soldiers. But what's happening to them?
Mordrum take a body from the battlefield and turn it into many monsters. So we always burn our dead immediately.
Mordremoth is using them for something. I say we keep our dead out of its clutches. Destroy those blisters now.
So that's actually quite grisly, that it isn't just that this is like a weird thing. It is, in theory, that would have like corpses inside of it. We don't see that for whatever reason, but
They are important to Mordramoth.
oh no. Ooh, yep.
Feel the fury.
Are we still missing a sniper around here? Guess not. Alright. Another blister. So each time we destroy one of these blisters, right, then we're going to get a reaction. I guess we get one corpse per blister here. But we understand what those are meant to communicate. What they're meant to be, if you will. So the snipers give us another good look at, like, things that prior to Heart of Thorns, we, players hadn't seen before, and all this stuff was just a...
I'll hold this area. Leave it to me. You keep going.
Okay. Thank you, Tislak. Prior to Heart of Thorns, there was a lot that we had not seen before, and it forced casual players to make adjustments that maybe they hadn't anticipated or weren't quite ready to make. So those lines, those orange lines that come from the snipers, if you just stand in that, it is devastating. Like, it'll crush you. and so it benefits you to kill the snipers as quickly as possible and do so while mobile. And that was definitely a very new thing, as are a lot of the things that we're seeing here. But for me, it was one of the most notable because it as a very mediocre player playing like core content, I was accustomed to just like face tanking everything, and that is not the correct approach to Heart of Thorns content. You have to be a little smart. I mean, you can still be pretty mediocre. I am still pretty mediocre, but you got to be a little bit better than that, or it's gonna be hard on you, I guess.
Time to do some real damage.
So again, more Mordremoth. Ooh, they almost got me. Oh, they did get me. Oh no! Oh, what's going on here? I thought this area was cleared. Apparently it's not. So what happened to the like little scouts that were defending this area? Did they get killed? Unfortunate, man. Unfortunate. Alright, let's go finish this off. Oh, they're over here doing nothing.
Feel the fury.
Victory at last. We came a lot quicker with your help. The jungle provides.
The village is safe from Mordrim Guard. For now. I just wish we knew more about those blister growths.
Well, the good news is we will learn more about those blister growths. Don't worry, Commander. Alright, Tizlock, what are your thoughts on this? The village is safe.
We do not. The Mordrum Guard didn't expect us to attack them, let alone beat them.
Ghana Miatli extends our gratitude to your new friends. She asks you to provide the guidance they seek.
I'm ready. Just as the jungle provided the strangers to us, she now provides us to them.
Thank you both. 2 of my people went on ahead. We need to find them and press on as quickly as possible.
Alright. So we have defended the Hylek village, and in doing so, we've earned the cooperation of the Hylek, right? So they're gonna help us out. Gonna help us make sense of all this. Hey, Tizlock. What's up, buddy?
My friend. On Kanamiatli's orders, I'm ready to help you find your companions who went ahead.
Okay, good. What can we do about that?
Your friends may be skilled fighters, but they left a trail even our newest scouts could follow.
I'm not surprised. They're in a rush. Can you tell me which way they went?
I've just sent a squad of new recruits into the jungle. They will have seen some sign of your friends.
Alright. But how do I find your scouts?
Here, use this warbler to locate them. Find them, inform them that I sent you, and they'll steer you right.
Perfect. Thanks, Tizlak. Oh, shiny.
So this is kind of a fun little thing. It's not like, you know, any sort of game changing anything at all, but it is a fun little touch. I don't dislike it. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next location where scouts would be like in the proximity of, and then once there, use the warbler to essentially attempt to summon the assistance of the Hylek scouts. Do we need flax? Do you ever not need flax?
I could outrun a centaur.
So another one of the things that was introduced with Heart of Thorns, and unfortunately has since kind of become a not forgotten, has become far less relevant than maybe players thought it was going to be. Thing that was introduced with Heart of Thorns is guild halls. And upgrading guild halls and doing things with guild halls required massive amounts of flax oil. So flax was in incredible demand for quite a while after the release of Heart of Thorns.
Oh, hello. When I heard the warbler, I was expecting someone else.
Tizlak sent me. I tasked 2 of my people with tracking Mordrum prisoners, and now I need to catch up with them. I need to find the prisoners, or my trackers. One's a young Norn, and the other's a Char with a flaming sword.
Sorry, haven't seen anyone like that. But I did hear about 2 strangers cutting their way west toward Auric Basin. Mundi, another scout, is stationed in that area. He might have seen something. Your warbler should lead you to him.
Oh, good, an event. That's gonna alter this whole process here. Put the warbler away for right now. Oh, where is that guy? I kind of forgot where he... Oh, yeah. Okay. More flax? Why not? Yeah, so definitely, like... I mean, guild halls are pretty good. I'm not going to say that they are not good. They're pretty cool. But there are a lot of aspects to guild halls that have kind of been rendered irrelevant by other developments in the game, including some things that were already in the game prior to the introduction of guild halls, like VIP areas, that always made guild halls like a little bit, you know, like if you didn't own a guild hall, or I mean, if you didn't own a VIP pass, then a guild hall could be very useful because you can just go to it anytime, right? Like, oh yeah, well, okay, that guild doesn't have one, but you know, I can go to the guild hall and immediately, you know, take care of certain things depending on how far the guild is upgraded. You know, then there's like merchants and so forth in there, right? But even Obsidian Sanctum still does it better, and a VIP pass would definitely do it better. Now, the great thing about a guild hall is it can be customized and can kind of, you can do a lot of cool things in there. That has definitely use for some guilds that you know, like to create like jumping puzzles or more recently roller beetle tracks within their guild halls. That's really, really cool. But that's an entire guild with a common purpose working towards something, and that doesn't really happen, I think, as often as people would like to think. Most guilds don't attain that.
Hey, where'd you get the warbler?
Tizlak gave it to me. He and Kawada said you could help find my friends, a Char and a Norn.
I saw them, led by Amayari, and a big flaming sword. They headed toward the border of our hunting grounds. Ubek, one of my fellow scouts, is stationed near there. A word of warning. Ubek was scouting a hostile caustic Itzel village there. Be very careful when you approach her. I also strongly recommend you learn to use the local mushrooms. You'll need powerful jumps to get where you're going.
So, technically, oh, rats.
Time to do some real damage.
Come on, come over here. Leave my pet alone. Technically, you can get to this next scout without mushrooms or a mount or anything. You can actually, if you use the terrain properly, you can glide up there, or glide down there from a higher point. We're not going to do that because I don't want to take the time to, like, you know, that's not something that's like worth demonstrating. It's just not that important. But it can be done, should you find yourself in that situation. Like, certainly it's manageable. So you can get up there and then glide down, which is not what we're doing because we're just gonna use our mount. Come on up. I know you're gonna follow.
Feel the fury.
That was too slow.
Is there someone else on the other side here? No, I guess not. Okay. Ubek, what's up?
Trying to keep a low profile here, but you've clearly got a purpose. What do you need, stranger?
Tizlak sent me. I'm looking for a char with a flaming sword and a Norn. If I get you out of here, will you help me?
Get me out? After all the trouble I went through to get in.
So you're not a prisoner?
I let myself get captured to learn all I can about the Costech itself situation. And I've got a lot more to learn. But I can help you. I did see your friends, hot on the heels of a Mordrum prisoner caravan, headed west.
Thanks. And good luck with your mission.
Alright. So slowly, making progress in terms of trying to track down our friends. Alright. So we're not going to go straight to, because we could just hop right over here and go into that log and go into the story. But I want to come up this way first. Oh, there's a waypoint I want to get before we enter the story. So we're going to come up here and grab a waypoint. Now we can't actually see it right now because of the state of the map. But when the daylight cycle rolls around, this would be the nobles area. And so there would be like some of the characters we would recognize from the human personal story, like, you know, Baroness Jasmina and folks who know Farron and all that, all around this area. It's also why there's this ridiculous music playing. That music is specific to like this region right up here. The noble ledges, and then also the whole hidden copse. Is it Copsy or Cops? This whole region right here, you know, has this kind of ridiculous music because it's associated with the human nobles.
I could outrun a centaur.
Ah, look at that. Alright. This is also the area where you can glide down from. In fact, we're already up here to get the hero point. So, if you were trying to get through the story as quick as possible and you didn't have mushrooms yet, and you wanted to, you know, glide down, then, you know, from up here, that little area where the frog was that we talked is like right over there. It's also a nice way to get to that hero point down there. So that hero point would be like, if we jumped way, way down and then glided inside the log that this one's like leaning against. This log where this is the top of it right here. So down underneath this like floor, there's more space, and the hero point's down in there. We're not going to do it right now because we want to advance through the story, but you know, so it's just commune, so it's just land in the right spot and you're fine. All right. Hey, look, it's Bram and Ritlock.
What happened? I told you two to stay close, not take unnecessary risks.
But we spotted a Mordrum prison caravan. We followed it, and it led us to this camp.
No risk, no reward. I made the call. Erson backed me up. We thought it was worth the risk. We were right.
Fair enough. Now, how heavily defended is this camp of yours?
Very. The Mordrum Guard are not mindless. They set up a strong defensive perimeter, and they know how to patrol it.
Brimstone is right. The Mordrum Guard are sharp, precise. They must know we're coming.
That doesn't matter now. There are prisoners here, and our friends might be among them. We're going in. Thanks for backing up Bram, Tribune. What's your assessment of the situation here?
This seems to be a large-scale prisoner containment camp. The Mordrum Guard goes out, collects living and dead bodies, and brings them here.
And this is where they grow all the Mordrum we've been fighting? Part prison camp, part minion factory.
Right. There's no easy access, but at least one member of Destiny's Edge is here. I can feel it.
Feelings? From a soldier like you?
Cut me some slack. I'm still getting used to this new magic and how to describe it.
Calm down, Ritlock. Jeez.
There's a back way in. Follow me.
Time to do some real damage.
So in season 2, when we were in the vine maze looking to, you know, for the various folks, you know, while trying to find the masterpiece in the egg, Marjorie could detect
if we can do enough damage to this
life forms within the vicinity.
Mordremoth's progress in the
Now Ritlock can do it.
If things get ugly, stand near me. I can boost your strength.
Okay, and now he says he can boost strength. So two things. So Ritlock's ability to detect life, much like Marjorie's ability to detect life, is a one-time thing, apparently. We will never see that referenced again, just like we will never see Marjorie's ability to do so referenced again. So it's like this weird, disjointed, kind of bad storytelling where they just like, hey, now someone can do X, Y, Z. And unfortunately, that's a common problem. There are a handful of skills, like you know, Bram's shield and Casimir's ability to detect deceit, that they do kind of maintain some continuity on, and that's good, because we should have continuity on those things. Whereas, you know, with Marjorie's thing and now Ritlock's thing, these are one-time things that we don't see again. However, nice that he says, hey, you know, shut up. Ritlock says, hey, you know, stand near me because I can increase your strength, or that, you know, I can enable you. That is another Herald thing. So they do a great job here of introducing the elite spec of Herald through Ritlock's, you know, skills and kind of what he's bringing to the fight and so forth. We're gonna get wrecked because we got immobilized within that AoE. Oh, that's not good. So, I mean, you know, like some of the other skills I've already mentioned, like the snipers and the pocket raptors, you know, smoke scales were another problem, and these moving AoEs that like chase you from the trolls, another problem. There are lots of things that, you know, kind of mid-level and low-level players really struggled with Heart of Thorns. Those are all like really good examples of things that just, you know, on a first playthrough were bewildering.
Time to do some real damage.
Hold up. There's too many Mordrum Guard ahead. If we engage, the noise will alert the entire camp. This looks like a Mordrum Guard bivouac. Close enough to guard the cages and to rally at the mustering ground. I figure the Mordrum Guard muster here before rolling out in force to collect prisoners and corpses.
We overcame worse odds while you were off in the mists. We can handle this.
I'm with Bram. You haven't really seen this team in action yet, Tribune. Trust me, and follow my lead.
Okay. So I really think Bram overall gets like a bad rap. Like there are a lot of characters that are worse in my opinion. However, in this case, I am with Ritlock. Like I don't understand why the commander and Bram feel like it's a sound tactical decision just to like charge ahead. Now we can pull them right back here. This is like a really great spot to pull them because it's the way the way most of their pathing is going to be is it's going to pull them right around this corner, and so you can kind of have your NPCs kind of a few of them will stack here with you sort of. Some of them are going to run off and do their own thing, regardless. But if you're concerned about survivability, you can, come over here and hang out.
Alive or dead, you will be part of the Jungle Dragon's horde.
Wow, that Mordrum voice was like right upon us. Jeez.
Workout since I got back from the mists.
Hey, about that. When are you gonna fess up about how you got these new skills, sir?
Maybe when Mordermoth or one of its leafy puppets isn't trying to kill us. Until then, stop asking.
He's right. Focus on the mission rocks. Right now, we need to find a way off this plateau.
I got bad news. He's never going to talk about it.
By the 6. That's a lot of tendrils.
That being all these tendrils.
Something to clear the path.
Agreed. There's airship wreckage scattered across the plateau. Let's see if we can gather some incendiaries.
So I do kind of like this.
This pack weapons crate is still intact, and there's ordnance here we can use.
Fire grenades. Outstanding. They burn hot enough to reduce just about anything to ash.
Alright, let's put them in use. I think this is a good example of like adding a thing and making it a thing that's like engaging and interesting and but it's still like combat related and isn't just us like like doing like weird things or something. Like this is and it's simple, right? Unlike the whole experience with like Kaith's skills and stuff, which was did not feel good because it was a whole bar of skills and they were different than anything that like for the most part any of the classes have, and they were all kind of elaborate and weird. This is really simple, and that makes it a great opportunity to just kind of change things up and presents a little challenge, because there is actually an achievement here when ascending the narrow path off the plateau, that being what we're doing right now. Destroy all the Mordrum tendrils without being hit by their poison area attacks. So we've knocked out the first few. It's not by any stretch of the imagination the hardest achievement in Guild Wars 2. If you pay attention, then generally you can do it. But you do got to pay attention. I don't always get it. It's another one of those achievements where I always try to do it every time I play through this instance, just because it's like it's a fun challenge. Sometimes throwing the grenades uphill is a little bit of a trick, because they will fall, because of the pathing of the grenades or whatever, they'll fall a little bit short of their target. But if you were to actually throw a grenade uphill, you might, find that you have to slightly adjust the trajectory of the grenade as well. So I guess it's not the craziest thing in the world.
I could outrun a centaur. Time to do some real damage. Feel the fury.
I don't know how much, if any, damage the NPCs are doing to these tendrils while all this is happening, or if you were to literally just AFK at the bottom, if they would ultimately take care of the tendrils on their own anyway. I assume on a long enough timeline they would, but it would probably be a pretty long timeline, I would think. Really, the best thing that the NPCs are good for right now is, drawing the aggro of, the tendrils, so that you have less to worry about, particularly if you're chasing that one achievement. And the biggest downside of them being around is they make seeing the tendrils a little harder.
Mortimer's knows we're here, but it doesn't seem concerned. It's interested, but not urgent.
Or that's what it wants us to think. Everyone, keep your eyes open and move up to that clearing.
The Overseer stations himself nearby, between the corpse staging ground and the live prisoner cages. There's the Overseer.
Ah, look at that. There he is.
I collected a lot more than my sword when I was in the mists. I'd take points, but I'm still sorting out the voices in my head. This new spell arsenal of mine comes with baggage.
All right, proceed with caution and be ready for anything.
Okay, so a couple interesting things there when you look at the lore of. So there is some lore in the other 8 classes, right? With the warriors' ties to Balthazar, the guardians' ties to Duena, and kind of how magic came to be for some of the different spellcasting professions and so forth. There is some lore around some of that, but they really went hard at the lore when it came to Revenant, and we're getting some of that from Ritlock right now. The baggage that he refers to, the voices in his head, are related to the fact that Revenants channel these various spirits from the mist, and so in doing so, they kind of, oh, you jerk, they interact with those spirits to a degree, and there is a little bit of confusion on my part, at least, about how much that interaction is these are echoes of those spirits versus how much it is that those spirits are conscious and aware and and have response.
Take them out so we can finish this.
That's what I tried to do, Commander. So there's really never a reason, by the way, if you were to go through this fight for the first time and kind of have no idea what you were doing, there's never really a reason to use anything other than grenades this entire fight, because it does so much damage to the Overseer, and it's also the mechanism that you use to take out the plume. You should be using the ordnance the entire time. Sometimes if you do it too fast, it kind of bugs out, and it actually will prolong the fight a little bit, because these blooms will kind of bug out a little bit, but not by enough to. Well, there are some bugs in the game that I find pretty frustrating. Generally speaking, that's not one that's really like game breaking or super problematic in any way.
I can outrun a centaur.
I think this should be the last go around, if I'm not mistaken.
Enemy down.
Yeah, there we go.
Not that it did us much good. Sorry, Commander, but this looks like a dead end.
Mordremoth's reacting to us, growing stronger defenses. We need to hit them harder to clear a path.
Can do. Stand back.
Nice work, Tribute. You can see the camp below. Way below. How are we going to get down there?
You glide, Commander. I'll create portals along the cliff face for the rest of us.
Good thinking. I'll lead the way, and the rest of you can catch up as quick as you can.
Wouldn't it make more sense to stay together? Like, I could just take the portals too. Alright, I'll glide. Now, truthfully, the moment I got right here, on my very first playthrough, I got right here, and I saw that, and, it's like one of the little stickers that, like in a bar or something, you'll see like a sticker in the urinal to give guys something to aim for because they can't help themselves. They're always going to aim for it, and thus you don't have people peeing on the wall, right? That's what that was for me. Like, I could not help myself. I had to aim for it. I had no idea that... Oh, the achievement's not actually here. Maybe it's like some kind of hidden achievement. Or maybe I already have it on this count, and I don't realize... I don't think I've played through this on this count, though. I don't think I've played through Heart of Thorns hardly at all. Yeah, we got it.
Nice work, Kaz.
Thanks, boss. Though, I'm not sure everyone would agree. Canuck's looking greener than usual.
I'm fine. You try falling from portal to portal while an elder dragon buzzes in your skull. See how green you get.
This is where they keep the live prisoners. Whoever we're looking for is somewhere nearby.
We'll get you out of here, Mom. I swear it.
Okay. Oh, did we not get it? Maybe I did already have it on this count. Did I just not, Yeah, I guess I did. Weird. I don't remember playing through this on the 0-0. I must have done that, though. Alright. So we have a whole bunch of green markers on our map, right? Every one of those represents a cell, essentially, right? Like a holding cell where Mordremoth is keeping, or the Mordrum are keeping prisoners.
Feel the power of the jungle dragon.
And then there's also, whoop, didn't see those guys. Oh, I still managed to walk into that AoE. It's weird. I definitely thought I was outside. And then we also got this like Vine Wrath over here. Vine Wrath should look familiar to us from Silver Waste. This is obviously a much smaller one than the one in the Silver Waste, and also is not fighting back or defended, and thus dies pretty quick. All right, so to the cells. The idea here is that we are going from cell to cell. One, freeing packed prisoners, because that should be important to us. Oh man, it's causing all kinds of trouble for me. All right, but also, so that one had nobody in it, I guess. So freeing prisoners, but also looking for specific prisoners, right? Because we're trying to find Logan, Air, Zoja, Traherne.
Commander, wait. This one is Nightmare Court. Shall I kill it?
Wait,
I don't want trouble. I just want to get out of here.
Prove it. Start running and don't stop until you hit dry time. Move.
Okay, so this is actually super, super important that we find a Nightmare Court. It's a foreshadowing to something that's going to happen just a little bit later in this instance. So I'm going to wait to talk about that until we get to that point in this instance. But it is very much worth a conversation, kind of a conversation about what might have been.
Be advised.
All right, good. We got some packed.
A lot of our weaponry and supplies when they took us. On it. Now get yourself to safety, soldier. They'll have to hit much harder.
So when talking about that Nightmare Courtier, and what they were doing here and kind of what it means for us. Oh, did my pet open that? All right, Vigil, more packed. That's good.
We've got things covered here. If you want to get back into action, find Larenthir and follow his lead. Move out.
Hey, why are you going that way? That's the opposite way that we have cleared, dude. All right, there you go. Yep, downhill. Downhill, Vigil Marksman. All right. Yes, Nightmare Court. Not only a conversation about what might have been, but a conversation that kind of goes back to the Season 2 conversation about what the Nightmare Court are or are not. And I really like it, even though there's not a lot of it. What, nothing in there? Except for black marks? Maybe there was something in there and they just got destroyed. Scary. So it's a really interesting concept, and I think there was a huge opportunity missed when Heart of Thorns was developed. Now again, I think Heart of Thorns overall is good. It's my favorite expansion. Path of Fire is my least favorite. No one in that one either, huh? Ooh, another Terror Drift. But it doesn't mean it's perfect, and I think there was an opportunity missed. Big time. Alright, is there anyone in this one? Looks like it.
That was the last one. And still no.
Oh yeah, Priory.
Gritlock, are you still feeling that feeling?
Affirmative. And it's even stronger here. They're close. Just beyond those vine walls.
What are we waiting for? Tribune, put your new magic to work and clear us a path. Please!
Alright, Bram, we're doing the best we can, buddy. We do understand Bram's urgency, though. And while it might be a tiny bit annoying, I like that they insert the urgency here. Regardless of what I think about Air and, like, her horrible parenting, like, it's okay for Bram to really, really want to find his mom, especially if this represents an opportunity to kind of better understand, like, something that he was missing from his childhood and whatever. Like, I get it. I totally get it. Makes sense, man.
A rescue party. Then Wolf did hear me. In here, they're starving us. No food or
It's
water.
really hard to see.
That's because
There's
Mortimer
Fallon.
doesn't care if we're alive or dead when it plugs us into a blighting tree. Release us now.
There's Air.
Fallon, why is Mordremoth locking up so many Nightmare Courtiers?
You know nothing of the court. We seek freedom, and Mordremoth's yoke is even more onerous than the Pale Trees.
Forget her. Just get me out. The Mordrim took Logan and Soja and Traherne deeper in the jungle, and I don't know why.
Hang on, Mother. We're about to bust you out of there.
Well, we are Bram, but not until we kind of go over this real quick. So what Fallon says there is like really interesting and insightful in terms of not only the expansion, and we'll get to that, but in terms of the Nightmare Court, right? I've repeatedly talked about how I really like that the Nightmare Court is very specifically about freedom of choice, and again, they make wrong choices and ethically, and we understand that. But the idea that they are more than, because you look at the other dragon minions, well, they're not dragon minions, but the other kind of like especially starting level adversaries, like you got the Inquest, who are very regimented and kind of do their own little weird like sciencey thing. The Sons of Spawnier have no personal choice; they are servants to a dragon. You got like the Destroyers, who are dragon minions. You got bandits and centaurs, both of whom are, the bandits are very much in the pay of somebody, so they're not really about free will. They are about like monetary gain. The centaurs, I guess maybe you can make that argument, but we don't really ever see any like philosophical stuff out of this. They don't have like a driving ideology. They're just fighting for their land, right? Because in fairness to the centaurs, like humans have heavily impeded on their traditional lands, and so like there's a whole another conversation to be made there about how the human race in Guild Wars 2 has been a source of immense destruction. All these other things, but you don't really have like a really strong um, ideological stance out of very many villains or villain factions, but you do out of the Nightmare Court. And we see that again. We seek freedom, and Mordremoth's yoke is even more onerous than the Pale Trees. So in theory, what we have here are Nightmare Court. They're not turned by Mordremoth. We see that clearly from the courtier who ran away, and now from Fallon's comments here. So what does this mean for the expansion, and why am I talking about it beyond the fact that I find Nightmare Court and kind of philosophy and ideology within the game kind of interesting? Supposedly, there was going to be a whole nother story arc added to what we're experiencing right now, which included a Nightmare Court angle and their relationship, or lack of relationship with Mordremoth. And you think about it, it makes a ton of sense that there would be this story arc, or that this would exist within the story, because what does all this mean to the Nightmare Court? And we get a little bit of it right there. So we have common goals then with the Nightmare Court. And you look back over like the last 123 years, right? So go back to 1900, real world history, right? And look at all the times that like folks who you would think would be adversarial, or who are adversarial but maybe put aside their differences because of a common foe. And so apparently there was going to be very much that sort of thing in Heart of Thorns involving the Nightmare Court. But they ultimately did not have the time. I mean, like I pointed out a couple times, the content drought leading into Heart of Thorns was immense. I can't remember exactly how long it was. In my memory, it was somewhere between like 9 months and a year. Might have been a little bit more, a little bit less, but it was somewhere in that ballpark. How much more time would it have taken for them to add the Nightmare Court? And I think by the time Heart of Thorns released, I think the studio felt like literally every day that it wasn't releasing was problematic for the studio. So they did not. Ultimately, there were some things that were intended to be in Heart of Thorns that were cut, and the Nightmare Court story arc is apparently one of them. When we get to like down here, we'll bring it up again, and we'll talk quite a bit about this map and what's going on in this map when we get to it. We're ways off from that. Right now, we found Air. We found one of Destiny's Edge and Fallon together in this Mordrum Sky Cell. I don't know what that means, although one might speculate based off what's going on here. But we'll let's try and bust this thing open. Bop, 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 bop. Looks like 6 to 8% at a time, depending on whether or not I crit. Oh no!
Head through the overpass. We can cut it off there.
We have to keep moving.
I like my chances better this way.
Mother, look out!
And Air got one shot. Oh, no. Okay. So we got to dive right into this fight. So we'll do some talking about that cutscene after the fight. So Bram's going to charge ahead because this course is... It goes without saying. It's like a super traumatic thing for Bram, right? Oh, I should have known he was going to do the bouncy thing. Well, I totally blew it. Alright, so all our friends go down pretty quick. And it's ultimately going to kind of be left to us to take down this Vine Tooth. And this is our first time. Assuming that you were entering the maps as you encounter them in the story, as a new player to Heart of Thorns, then this would be the first time you would see a Vine Tooth, and then you would see them in the open world, in the next map. And they are formidable. So.
Mom, spirits.
Bram, I'm sorry.
Me too, kid. At least she took Fallon with her, and Fallon died screaming like the coward she was.
I need time. There are rituals to perform. Gone. Spirits. I don't even know if he was with her during the crash. And her bow. If it's in that camp, I want it. My mom and I never... We didn't have... Just let me say goodbye to her. Alone. Just go. I'll catch up. I swear to you, I'm not going to die out here. Not until I see Mordramoth fall.
Take whatever time you need. Catch up as soon as you can.
Alright, so it is a bit of melodrama. And I'm not in love with like the manufactured drama. What I am in love with is we don't get enough of this. Now, I'm not saying they need to just go killing off like every single character all the time, but since this happened, so as we progress through the story after Heart of Thorns and we start getting into Heart of Thorns does this well, where where death has meaning. Almost all of the Guild Wars 2 story after Heart of Thorns is going to rob us of that meaning. And it's going to be far less significant. So we should appreciate the fact that in Heart of Thorns, Guild Wars, or ArenaNet makes it matter. And here we have an opportunity to see it matter. Now, let's go back to the cutscene. I don't know that there's a lot to discuss in the cutscene that we don't get here. I think more than anything, it's meant to kind of show us the difference between the good guys, quote unquote, and the bad guys, quote unquote. And the cutscene works in part because we don't have more Nightmare Court content in Heart of Thorns. I think if we did, I think that portrayal of Fallon would be like problematic. Although not like wouldn't break the story. But it would make it more difficult to portray us kind of working with the Nightmare Court. We don't have that content anyway. So that means that you can allow this to be. We can allow Fallon to kind of be that underhanded person. Now, we know Fallon is that underhanded person, though, because we see it in Twilight Arbor, and we see it in other parts of the story, Season 2 and so forth. So, okay, fine. I'm glad we don't have Kaith with us, because Kaith would have, like, somehow made excuses for her. And we can say that that's because, of their romantic relationship between Kaith and Fallon, or we can say it's because Kaith is a real piece of garbage, which is, like, 100%, in my opinion, like, without question. Either way, we don't have Kaith here to make excuses. We see Fallon for kind of what she is, and I think that is consistent with her character, that she would do that to Air. While Air was trying to help her, which is what they try to kind of portray Air's character as being, and we do see that character out of Air at times. She just can't. She's a compassionate person, just not compassionate for her own son, apparently. And then I think we get a pretty good response here out of Bram. I don't think that Bram's response here is necessarily problematic, right? All right, we're gonna allow Bram to do his thing.
Listen up. I need a volunteer to stay behind. Bram will get his time, but he needs someone to watch his back.
I was already planning to, Commander. Bram and I have been through too much for me to just leave him like this. Go on ahead. I'll make sure we find you. After Bram makes his peace with Air.
Thanks, Rox. Everyone else move out. The rest of our friends are still out there. And the egg. And Mordramoth.
Alright, so that kind of sums that up as well as I possibly could, to be quite honest. Alright. War Master Alicia, what do you have to say about all this? You got the little green thing over your head, so do you have, something that you want to address here?
Commander, not sure if this is important, but I just saw your comrades, the Norn and the Char, carrying a body.
I'm sorry to report that was Air Stagalkin. She fell in combat with one of the new Mordrum.
Oh, gods. My condolences. She was an inspiration to a lot of us. And she'll be missed.
Not just missed. She'll be avenged. Mordramoth will pay for all the lives it's destroyed.
I'll spread the word. Air will be remembered. I promise you.
Thank you. I'm pressing on to find Traherne and the rest of Destiny's Edge before Mordramoth claims them too.
Yeah, so as we kind of leave off with the story here, what were we? We were Vigil on this character, right? Yeah, so let's choose this one. And it turns out, actually, by the way, so if you were a new player or a first-time player or whatever the case may be, and you reach this point in the story, hopefully you've played the story through in order up to this point, or at least played core story and then this. Choose the backpack that aligns with whatever that character is. And if you're playing Heart of Thorns and you have not played the core story, when you do the core story, choose the order that aligns with the backpack you chose from Heart of Thorns. It kind of messes up your ability because this thing can be scaled up a couple times till it gets to an ascended backpack. But it makes it it can that process can kind of get broken a little bit if you don't have kind of continuity. Oh, are you wanting to do that, buddy? I'll do it with you. Okay, so we're done with the story, but there are a couple things that I kind of want to take a look at before we log off. A couple more things kind of piggyback off yesterday, and this is one of them. So a lot of folks, as I've mentioned a few times, really struggled with Heart of Thorns on launch, on Heart of Thorns launch. And what we're seeing here is one of two reasons. This hero point is rough, and was a lot rougher when Heart of Thorns was initially rolled out. It's become easier over time. I don't know if this hero point got nerfed when they did their large, because they did sometime after Heart of Thorns. So there were a couple nerfs to Heart of Thorns. One was almost immediately after launch, and that was primarily centered around the number of hero points required for elite specs. And that was kind of to put a stop to some of the review bombing that was taking place. But then there was a second one, and I don't remember. It feels like it was quite a long, in my memory, it was quite a long time after the release of Heart of Thorns. It was a year or more, but I don't know that that's necessarily true. That might just be how I remember it in my head. Under any circumstances, there was a second wave of nerfs to Heart of Thorns content. And that made a big difference for players who were really frustrated with the Heart of Thorns stuff. I don't know if it impacted this hero point or not, but power creep and elite specs certainly have made this one a lot easier than it used to be. A lot of players were really unhappy with just how hard some of this was. They wanted their elite spec. It was one of the big selling points of the expansion. And they go to get their elite spec only to discover that the process of getting there, such as, you know, this hero point, is much worse than they thought it was going to be. That's even more true for, let's see, I haven't got that one yet either. All right, cool. Let's go up there. Because this is going to allow us to talk about a couple of things. So let's come up here. This is another great example of hero points that were changed. This one was not only... This one was like the one we just did. This one was another champion. When they did the change that reduced the number of hero points required from 400 to 250, they completely removed the champion from this and just made it a commune. And I think this one was really driving people crazy because not only was there a champion up here, and it was a difficult one, so it required several players up here to beat, but you know, there's like a huge hole here, there's the drop off here, you have to go up the vines to get here in the first place. So unlike this one, where if you die doing it, you can very quickly either go from this hero waypoint or this waypoint straight down into it and continue the fight. It takes a long time to go from the hero point that's over here, or I mean the waypoint that's over here, up and up and up and up. You actually go around up, and then you jump down, and then you come along the vine here. And while most players know that route intimately now, for some folks that was confusing or frustrating, and it took time, and you know there was a huge process that was very frustrating. It was a very punishing hero point. And it also kind of leads us to point number 2, which is navigating this map. So I think generally Tangled Depths has the reputation of being the hardest map to navigate in the game. But this one, before people ever got to Tangled Depths, this one weeded a lot of them out because they would get so frustrated. And I don't necessarily say like weeded them out in a positive way, because I don't mean it in a positive way. A lot of them, I want to put you away. Can I get... Okay. Because they didn't deserve to get weeded out. They wanted to play the content. And they were unable to play the content because they couldn't navigate the map. And that was hugely frustrating. So like getting over here, of course I know the route easily now, but at the time getting to like this hero point, right, was confusing and frustrating. This person asked for help with this hero point. They're up there doing nothing. This person just got rezzed and is standing here doing nothing. And I'm not very good at doing this one solo.
Your assistance, please.
Not that I can't do it, but I don't know. I can do it on Necro easy enough. This is a little bit harder. So the map navigation issue specific to 2 maps, Verdant Brink and Tangled Depths, because the other 2 are very easy, honestly, to navigate, became a huge issue for a lot of players. So 2 things, beyond... I've talked a bit about various enemies that caught a lot of players off guard and provided a source of frustration for them and so forth. But there's also the navigation issue and the fact that elite specs were much harder to get their hands on than a lot of players had initially anticipated. I just want to reinforce the idea of how game-changing Heart of Thorns was. And I think in the long run, all that was positive. We needed to have an expansion that was... Person's still just standing here. We needed an expansion that raised the level of difficulty. Because honestly, like, by the time Heart of Thorns rolled around, core game was not... Oh, I left the bubble and now I can't. Now I can't hit it. Core game was not hard enough. And we would have lost a lot of players because it would have just ultimately become, especially with the introduction of elite specs, it would have become like a cupcake game. But we had that painful learning process of players coming to the realization that the game needed to be harder than they were ready for. And I say that as someone who's not very good and struggled a little bit myself when that change happened. But it was necessary on my part, too. I would have been, like, super trash forever had that not taken place. Alright. Wonder if this person got credit for it. Who knows? Who knows? So let's, since I'm running my mouth, even though we're done with the story, instead of ending the stream and video, let's check one more thing. I still want to see... Whoops, is this not... I'm in the wrong spot. I want to come back over and see if this event is happening. No, that's not the right part of the cycle, I don't think, for it to be happening. Where is that? It's like down here, I think. No. No, now I can't even find it. Super embarrassing. I don't think it's going to be up though, because I think we're at the wrong part of the event cycle. We're just now establishing the camps. That's what this is. But let's check just a second. Yeah, I think it should be here, but there's no one here because the camp's not established yet. It should be right here, but the event's not taking place. So one of these days, I would like to capture this event, just because it is the one event that shows. ArenaNet taking the time to kind of examine the issue of, you know, like really serious persecution of the Silvari. Oh well. Let's not enter Auric Basin, because it will immediately trigger, at this point in the story, if we enter Auric Basin, it's going to trigger certain dialogue. And that dialogue is relevant to the story. I don't want to trigger it yet because I want to start our next segment of the playthrough with that dialogue. So instead, let's wrap it up right here. So what has happened? You know, we know where we were at the start of the day. Pack Fleet destroyed, Destiny's Edge missing, Traherne missing, Kaith has the egg. What are we going to do? Well, we tracked down a portion of the prisoner caravan and found part of Destiny's Edge. We found Air. Unfortunately, she was, during her escape, which to some degree we kind of facilitated this disaster by, you know, when we tried to bust open the cage and the cage like pulled away. Unfortunate thing, but how could we have known, right? When that happened, it was her and Fallon who both got pulled to the kind of adjacent plateau area there. Where I grew up, we'd call it a mesa. And Fallon stabs Air in order to facilitate her own getaway. She does not get away. She's snatched up by this Mordrum monster. But the same monster, which is weird because it appears to snatch up Fallon, but then we don't see Fallon again. But then we do fight the same monster after it kills Air also. So Air is now dead. We are still searching for Zoja. We are still searching for Logan. We are still searching for Traherne. Air is dead. And we are still searching for Kaith. So where we're actually at here, we have now, in terms of the story, we have now fully navigated this map. And we're going to continue by pushing down into the next map in the hunt for Kaith and the egg, but also in the hunt for the remaining members of Destiny's Edge and Traherne. So when we come back tomorrow, that's where we will pick it up. I do appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I hope you have a good one.